A village has been reduced to ash and smoke, bodies scattered through the wreckage. At the center of it all sits a broad, mustached knight, eating calmly atop the corpses of the people he's just slaughtered. One of his men approaches and reports that the job here is finished. The knight, Colin, doesn't even glance up. He simply asks if they found anything worth taking, or if the whole raid was a waste. His subordinate admits the village had almost nothing, but quickly adds that the next target should be far more rewarding. It's a settlement near the city of Marcia, and its chief is said to be a former tax collector. That detail alone is enough to change Colin's mood entirely. A man who once collected taxes for a living almost certainly has money hidden away somewhere. Colin grips his sword and asks for the village's name. He's told it's Wisteria Village. He repeats it back to himself, savoring the sound of it, already imagining the gold waiting for him there. With that, his company sets out toward the unsuspecting village, while somewhere within it, a man named Vlad is already waiting. The next day shifts to a completely different mood. In Wisteria Village, a wedding is underway. The whole community has gathered to celebrate the marriage of a local woman named Marie, and the square is filled with laughter, music, and dancing. A pig roasts on a spit nearby, and Marie's brother, Got, walks over to thank Vlad for it. Vlad explains plainly that the village chief offered the pig as a gift, and that he simply knocked 1 gold coin off his payment in exchange. Got laughs, certain his sister will be thrilled, and jokes that it almost feels like a blessing from a knight. Vlad brushes the comment off, noting dryly that he's no priest. He then changes the subject, asking whether the groom has family connections in Marcia. Got confirms it, mentioning that the groom's relatives apparently run a respected textile business there. Vlad reminds him not to forget their earlier agreement. Once the ceremony ends, those relatives need to be sent toward Marcia immediately because time is short. Before Got can ask why, the village priest arrives, and Vlad sends him off to join his sister for the ceremony. The moment Got is gone, Stefan steps in to deliver a report. Their scouts have been watching the surrounding area closely, and the news isn't good. An armed group is approaching, and based on their pace, they're likely to reach the village by nightfall. That means preparations need to begin immediately. Vlad glances across the square at Marie standing before the priest, glowing with happiness, and quietly says that this moment is one worth protecting. He instructs Stefan to inform the village chief the instant the ceremony concludes. When he asks about the enemy's scouts, Stefan confirms their men have already pinpointed their location. Vlad nods and heads off without another word. The scene shifts to a cave hidden in the hills where a handful of Colin's scouts are resting around a campfire, clearly worn down by weeks on the road. One complains about the endless diet of dried rations, wondering how much longer this assignment will drag on. Another tries to keep morale up, reassuring the group that Colin will arrive soon, and that once this village is dealt with, a formal declaration of war is expected to follow. The Baron backing them has promised a substantial reward, so all they need to do is hold out a little longer. He adds that this particular village looks especially promising, well-organized farmland, and apparently enough prosperity to throw a full celebration despite everything. The mention of a feast catches the other men's attention immediately, and someone notes that there's even a roasted pig involved. Before the conversation can go any further, a new voice finishes the thought for them. Unfortunately, none of them will be eating any of it. Standing in the cave entrance is Vlad, sword already drawn, his expression cold. The scouts freeze in place, completely outmatched. By evening, Colin and his men reach the outskirts of the village and come to an abrupt halt. Hanging along the road are 3 of their own soldiers, crucified in plain view. Colin stares at the scene and asks for confirmation that these are truly his men. His subordinate confirms it without hesitation. Colin falls silent for a moment, processing the fact that soldiers far above the skill level of an average village guard were taken down without a single survivor returning. He concludes that someone with serious combat experience must be protecting this place, likely hired mercenaries or something close to it. When his subordinate asks how they should respond, Colin's answer is immediate. A message like this demands an answer in kind. Standing before the village gates, he roars out a challenge, demanding whoever is responsible reveal themselves, and threatens that if the gates don't open immediately, he'll slaughter everyone inside without exception. After a tense pause, the gates creak open, and Vlad walks out alone. He greets Colin with an unsettling calm, remarking that it's been a long time since their paths crossed, though clearly not under pleasant circumstances. Colin studies him, confused, and admits he doesn't recognize him at all. Vlad seems almost amused by this, commenting that the encounter apparently left less of an impression on Colin than it did on him. Still struggling to place the face, Colin eventually catches something familiar in Vlad's relaxed expression and easygoing stance, and the memory finally clicks into place. A name surfaces in his mind tied to deep, simmering resentment, and his composure shatters instantly. Vlad draws his sword and introduces himself properly. He was once the squire of a man Colin clearly despised, a former mentor from Vlad's past, now long gone. Colin mutters to himself that the resemblance in posture, swordsmanship, and that same irritating smile is unmistakable. Consumed by fury, he hurls an insult at Vlad, branding him a lapdog of the noble house Vlad now serves, and charges forward with a strike meant to end the fight in a single blow. The attack lands with explosive force, kicking up a wall of dust and debris, but when it clears, Vlad is still standing, having caught the blow completely. Calmly, he corrects Colin, stating again that his name is simply Vlad. Enraged, Colin launches into a relentless series of attacks, swinging from every angle, but Vlad meets each strike with practiced precision, never wasting a single movement. Watching from behind, Colin's soldiers grow uneasy, until one of their officers orders them to follow their commander's lead and engage. The men raise their shields and begin advancing as a unit, only for an arrow to suddenly tear through one soldier's helmet. Archers stationed along the village walls open fire, forcing Colin's officer to call for a tight shield formation as they push forward. The defense holds against the volley, and the officer scoffs at the idea that a few arrows could turn the tide. That confidence vanishes the instant his men notice the ground beneath them has become slick. Before he can finish ordering a retreat, Stefan fires a flaming arrow from the walls, calmly noting that it pays to watch where you step. The oil-soaked earth ignites instantly, and fire rips through Colin's formation, plunging his soldiers into chaos and panic. Colin turns just in time to see his men scattering in flames, completely caught off guard by what's unfolding. He has no time to process it further because Vlad's voice cuts through the chaos behind him. At last, he says it's just the two of them now. Exactly the kind of fight he's been waiting for.